So they came up making money on advertising, but now a lot of it's the gambling.
So that's literally that fuels most of it at the moment.
Correct. So on college football, college football is Saturday in America, NFL's on a Sunday. So every Saturday they get a couple of people in, they have, pizza, they have food, they sit them down in a chair, they give them X amount of money, usually it's about 10,000, 20,000, whatever, supposedly risk-free money. They get to bet on a game that they like. If they win, they get to keep the money. If they lose, it's just essentially Barstool's money through pen. It's like gambling with fake money. They get staked. Welcome back to the Outspoken Show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We are factually the number 5 podcast in the world. But yeah, there was also a YouTuber, CoffeeZilla, that did something on Steve Will Do It from the Nelk Boys. I don't know if you know Steve, but he will get flown to Mexico, as well as like a few other YouTubers, just to do Roobet, which is an online casino type thing, crypto casino, which is less regular. I think I might have spoken about it before on the show.
We talked about it, yeah.
I've seen a bit of Roobet. It's dangerous the amount you can bet and how quickly you can lose it. Steve-O lost 500 grand in about a minute, and it's just, tap, 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 gone. Similar to a pokey, I guess, you're just tapping away, but just the speed of this thing. He was actually with 6ix9ine, the rapper, when he lost all that money. So it's crazy how the world of business works.
And it's funny because he loves gambling. Steve Will Do It loves gambling and is a degenerate gambler, but he was listening to an interview and he goes, no, like once this partnership got offered to me, why would I bet with my own money? Like it's just stupid.
Of course.
Which it is.
It is, yeah.
But then like the gambling through that kind of thing, it's like feeding into 2 addictions. Addiction to like your phone and clicking on the next thing, and then the addiction of the thrill. It's like, it's a double whammy. That's like...
How do you avoid it though? Because it's so gamified.
How do you avoid it, as in like as a person, or how do you avoid the industry
addiction.
blowing up? Like the addiction. Oh, well, I mean, avoiding addiction is a.
I think in terms
if you
of
knew how to do it properly.
To your point, the accessibility of it. I think you got GameStop is an app where you can, put that stops all downloads of online bets and of online apps, so that you can't.
GameStop is the name of the app.
Yeah. So that's one to stop downloading those.
That's a good idea.
Is that so? That's an app that prevents you from downloading
Correct.
any kind of gambling apps.
Yep.
It's like a thing to fight your addiction if you're trying to work on it.
Correct.
Because Roobet as well, for example, sports bet, you can self-exclude, which means you won't be allowed back onto the app once you do that. And it's sort of just you saying, I've got an issue, don't let me back on. And then you'll never get back on. Roobet don't have this. So you can delete your account, but you can sign back up. And there's so many questions around it. Is it morally is it legal? Is it ethical? Probably not ethical, but is it legal?
They've obviously put stop gaps or whatever in place in other types of things that are considered gambling, which need to have that kind of regulation.
Yeah. But anyway, I was at this party the other week. It was for Halloween, a couple of weeks ago now. And I met this girl who was telling me about her friend. And she's saying, like, she'll be perfect for you. Tell me about this friend, right? And I'm listening and sounds really cool. I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, send her a message like, no reason to not be interested. I'm single. I'm interested. And we move on to the next conversation. Another conversation goes by, completely out of my mind, out of the picture. And then she goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. And I sent her a message and told her about you, but she hasn't got back. The reason is she's in hospital and has a chronic illness where she'll fall asleep and forget where she is.
Okay.
How the fuck do you forget to tell me that?
That's a weird
It's an afterthought. The fact that that's an afterthought, I was blown up and I didn't know how to react and I turned my face off. And she's saying, it's fine. Like, other than that, like, she's completely cool. And I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, that's cool. That's a pretty big deal.
What is that? That's a thing where you falsely forget where you are.
I don't know. But it doesn't happen that often. But she's in the hospital now, which is terrible. And it sucks that that's the case.
Oh, yeah. It seems like a tough thing to live with.
Yeah, it sounds bad to tell the story and like make fun of it, but it was more the fact that I was getting told this story and it didn't come up.
Yeah, bury the lead.
Yeah. I was like, how do you forget about that?
I like to think that's something you preface as a friend, trying to, set her up with a potential
Just so
date.
you know.
But I don't know, maybe it's something that she's insecure about or doesn't want to be the deal breaker of, of a potential partner or a potential hookup.
Potentially.
And if you're a friend trying to like talk about the girl, you're not going to say that right at the beginning because you want the person to see, the other characteristics before they then start to judge them. I completely understand you being like thrown off by that.
I was like, what?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. You would explain like
We're talking about
things.
something else.
Yeah, but like you would definitely lead it up as a friend. That's what you would do.
I guess if you're trying to apply that to another situation, imagine if, you have a friend who's trying to set their friend up with a date. She's got, leg bitten off by a shark. She's now got a prosthetic leg.
How did you come up with that on the spot? That's
I was
good.
just thinking about that. Like, I think you want to, obviously, the person first, and then, by the way, that they have had this accident. It's sort of that when you see someone who has a bionic arm, who has a defect, who has something peculiar about them, I think people are probably too quickly to judge that side first.
Definitely.
I think, it's obviously more about the personality, about the person first, but I'd think that's a pretty rare thing to hear in a potential partner on a date. So
it was just at the party, and I just did not expect it. But yeah, it makes sense to lift your friend up to put their best foot
I think
forward.
that friend nailed it for her mate. Like that's what you got to do because you're right. People can see that unique thing about someone that's like different. Like, oh, that would be too hard to deal with. But then if it's broken down to you, they're just like, oh, this is a regular person with this thing. You'll stop looking at it the same way you would just seeing that person at first instincts or first impressions. That can be very deceiving. So I think the friend did a great job.
Yeah,
Friend did a great job.
and it's just cool as well. But
So did that develop any further?
I don't know.
It looks like that.
I'm not sure. Just because I met that girl on the night, and it was a friend of a friend, so I'm not even sure who.
If there was a connection there.
So
the
does
girl
a friend
that
have a partner?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that was one of my mates' mates.
Right,
Who
okay.
that's how I sort of the conversation got going. But what is a deal breaker? Like you've just taken the first girl that you found. No,
Sorry, babe, for being this girl.
no, that's
Yeah,
not
I
what I meant.
latched onto her. I took everything on board, and I settled.
No.
I mean a deal breaker.
Is there any deal breakers? And
mean, if they're
even from a
annoying-
perspective of watching other people enter relationships or date.
I don't know. I mean, to me, a deal breaker. I don't drink a lot. I don't go out partying a lot. If I were to get with someone who was like a big drinker, I wanted to party every weekend. To me, that would be a deal breaker. Like our lifestyles just don't match in that way. So that'd be a huge part of that we did
Are
separately.
you referring to me? Do I
Yeah.
go out too much?
Yeah, look, we're not dating anytime soon, Luke, because you're just not my type. You're perfect in every way, but you go out too much. I just don't see it lasting. But to me, that's probably the biggest deal breaker. If they're like socially, all they want to do is go out and drink. To me, I don't know. I haven't thought about this in a long time. What a deal breaker would be, but that to me, because
So that's just like a personality difference,
that's
which
one of the
isn't
things
too
you
bad.
can judge early on. Like longer into a relationship, you start to learn more about someone. But from first instincts, if I met someone out clubbing, I probably wouldn't try to pursue anything with that person ever, because already I'm not liking the situation I met them in, and that's my own shit. But I'm like, I would always veer away from that. I want to meet him in just real life.
Fair enough. For me, I think the inability to work on themselves is probably a big deal breaker if they're not wanting to work through their own problems or our problems. I think that's obviously a big deal breaker if they don't want to be mature and try and help the situation or address situations head on, no matter if it's tough.
Is it possible to find that out early on, you reckon?
I reckon probably 3 months is enough time to gauge whether, I think everyone has fights and has disagreements somewhere, into a relationship. And I think it's important to see how your potential partner reacts to those situations. I think I've sort of definitely felt that through not even my partner, myself, working through a couple of my own personal demons and, trying to work on myself and she's trying to work on herself so we can both be better for each other. I think that's probably for me. Yeah, obviously the personality stuff. If if your lifestyles don't match up, obviously. But I think that's probably if they're not wanting to work on themselves, that's a big deal breaker.
That's a
for
good
me.
point. That's a good point. And ambition. That's probably the only other thing that it'll add. I don't know. I was going to say I don't have any deal breakers, but I knew you did not.
I feel like you have a lot of deal
I think,
breakers.
Lukey, by nature, I think you're very ambitious. You want to try different things. You're really expansive, and you want to, push your boundaries and push the limits of what you can do. And I think for you, that deal breaker that I said was exactly right. I think someone who's very close is probably not the right person for you. I think you would want someone who can challenge themselves, work hard, have their own independent views, and I think that's the type of person Lukey's looking for.
That's fair.
But you don't want them to be more successful than you. I mean,
I switched up.
You've said this previously.
No, it's not
It's
about
developed.
them. No, what it was, and I had to think about it, because I said I don't want my partner to have, what was it, more money than me, or something like that. It was something like that. But what I realized was I don't want them like to be family money and then they be lazy. I think that's what it was. That's what I have an issue with. If they're super successful, like that's fucking unreal. Like that's hot. Like if they're more successful than me. But it's like if they're just living off dad.
Yeah, they've been given everything and they are too comfortable.
That's what I realized it was. And that's a turn off for me. But
that's more understandable than the other one. Just like, you're
in
living in the 50s, bro.
But in terms of like being adventurous, or sort of being adventurous but exploring, I had a thought, and it came to me while eating fruit, a pear. It's the most weird looking fruit there is. Like it literally looks like a ball sack and a dick. If you flip it upside down, you got the two balls and you got the dick. You can understand.
It's a very natural looking fruit.
Okay. But who came up with the idea of eating a pear? Like at what point do you go, okay, I'm going to eat this fruit that looks like a ball sack and a dick hanging on a tree when there's so many other foods available to eat? It's not like there's no food and you're dying of hunger. Maybe
I don't agree with this take at all. I don't think pears look that weird. They're a little bit off, but you've overthought this way too much, mate.
No, it's why do people... How desperate do you need to be to try new food?
I'd be more curious as to the first person who thought milking a cow was a good idea to drink. Like
that was a sexual fetish.
That's more like, how did you figure out to do that? Or you're eating an egg even, or like, but like a pear's fine. It doesn't look that crazy. It looks a little bit,
That looks like a rib dildo. Like that's someone's sex toy.
Jeez,
what year do you think
Yeah.
the first person discovered a pear and ate it?
Shit.
Like, I think that's important to discuss a timeline, because if it's back when they're apes and you have...
I reckon the monkeys would whatever our ancestors that we share with monkeys are. They're the ones who are eating pears. We've been eating fruit since time began.
I mean, I think that's important, because if there's nothing else and it's that, and they're like, look, I'm hungry, that looks all right. I don't know. I mean, above, trying to push aside the shape of a pear, they actually taste pretty good.
So
amazing.
Yeah, but this take is so far off from me. I think you chose so many other fruits as opposed to a pear.
Okay, well, it would...
Like a pineapple spike can hurt you, bro. You're like, oh, let's cut this open and eat it. No, that would be more concerning to me.
Okay, so on the milking cow, how do you reckon someone found out about cow milk? And if you tug on the tits or the udder, what's it even called?
It's an udder.
It is an udder? Yeah. What's your version of events? Because in my mind, it's something sexual. It's this weird dude that's into some animal play.
I mean, or...
Do you reckon he knows that there's milk?
Did he see that like his pregnant partner started to milk and he's like, oh, this is good for the baby. I wonder if cows do the same thing. Pregnant cow, milking a pregnant cow. It's a weird... But listen, hey, I think I discovered it.
I think it's sexual.
Oh, okay.
I agree. Like, what?
You reckon sexual?
It's a freak.
It's a bit of a trial and error thing. I reckon people have tried to milk dogs and milk cats and other things and gone, there's nothing here.
People go.
It's a bit weird, but, I think it's a bit of a trial and error, a bit of a sexual thing for someone. But, I mean, we're all better off for it now. We have milk. Getting back to your egg point, who decides to, cook an egg? Because no one eats a raw egg. Cracks a shell, eats it. It's disgusting, right? But who...
Hume does.
Actually experimented.
Hume does.
Hume did. That doesn't surprise me.
We would go to the gym, and I'd go back to his place after that, and it'd make up this like protein shake, just throw random shit in, like healthy shit, but it'd put raw eggs in. It'd be like 2 raw eggs, but you didn't actually notice it. But it's such a him thing to do.
It is a him thing. He's a very peculiar guy, but hopefully we see him soon.
But raw eggs as well. Cooking an egg. How does the idea come about?
Maybe
You've got to be desperate.
Maybe we're too sheltered. Maybe this is just like they see this thing on the ground back in the day. They just grab whatever. Oh, it doesn't taste good to eat by itself. Where's the fire? Let's heat it on a rock. Boom, let's open it up, see how that goes. I mean, I don't think it's that crazy. But
Do you reckon? Do you reckon they're going?
I reckon
If
a
it
lot of
doesn't
just-
taste good like this, we'll cook it and hopefully it'll taste better. You reckon?
like we've got nothing else. We've got these chickens laying these random things on the ground. I'm sure there's protein in it. Not that they knew
What that was
protein.
back then.
We cut the head off the chicken and eat it, so whatever's coming out of it must be good. I think we're thinking about too much like modern people.
Maybe, but like if you don't like artichokes, if you don't like steamed artichokes, you're not going to go, oh, maybe I'll like them grilled.
Do we think?
You know what I mean? Like,
Do we think that back in the day, we're going back, people cared if it tasted good, if it was nutritious? I think maybe taste
people
is
didn't know what
overrated.
nutrition was.
But like, if they know how it made them feel.
If it kept them full, if they were
Whatever's
survivalists
around. Yeah, they just,
And alive.
and alive, correct, and prolonging their life. I mean, it sort of goes back to Darwin's theory, right? Evolution, right? So,
Survival of the fittest.
survival of the fittest.
yeah, we're profiting off those other people just eating everything that was around them and figuring out what was good and what was bad.
What do you reckon was the most recently found out food or created?
Coffee. Eating. This is another one. Eating something that comes out of some animal shit. Isn't that where coffee started in Ethiopia? Or is
There
that
is a special.
is that a
type of-
specific
yeah.
blend or that's all coffee? Because if that's all coffee,
It's not all coffee.
that's
Coffee's
one. Let's
Yeah.
eat this thing that's gone through a whole digestive process of this whatever animal it is, brew it up and have the best coffee that there ever was.
apparently it's expensive too. Some shit coffee, like as in good coffee, but come from shit.
Wow.
I'm gonna look it up as well.
Yeah, I get
like
your
it'd
point.
be
Who
acidic.
who thought of roasting coffee bean, and how like I think all this stuff is trial and error, and we're just lucky to live in a time where all this stuff has been done for us, and we have so many different types of foods that are established now. So
That's right. We've covered everything. We just
Kopi Luwak is a coffee that consists of partially digested coffee cherries, which have been eaten and defecated, shat, by the Asian palm civet. Civet coffee is the name of it.
what's
I don't know what an Asian palm thing is.
Is it like a little squirrel looking thing? I'm going for that. Or like it looks like an echidna.
Oh, this is mad. Fuck yeah.
Like
like
big screen, mate.
it's like a raccoon.
Oh, you've just disappeared on me.
Give us a
It's
look.
like a jungle raccoon.
It is definitely like that's.
I know. Like a raccoon. Good.
They all look different though. You've got one image that looks like a raccoon in a tree, another one that looks like a bear, another one the tail is longer than its
Like
body.
a cat. Like a
And
weird.
then what about that bottom right? That looks dead, and it's a mouse or a bunny.
Yeah.
It's a bunny mouse.
You reckon they're good eating?
Well, they got good shits.
Yeah, like it tastes like coffee if you
I wonder if
eat a shit.
I wonder what they do with the actual feces. How they
Yeah.
create.
In the bag you get of the coffee.
they
it's
are
just got a little
fermented as
bit
they
of
pass
shit in
through
it.
the intestines, and after being defecated with other female matter, they're collected.
Other
Fecal
fecal.
matter. They're collected.
So they collect it, but then what do they do with the feces?
They just
Around
wipe it off. They brush it off.
Oh, that's expensive. huh?
around up to $1,300 per pound, $45
Oh.
farmed, which must be to the source, from the ass to the cup.
Per kilo. Holy.
Is that a lot though? Because think about
It feels like
how
a lot.
much would go into one coffee though. I guess that's actually that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot
That's
for
a
a pound, a kilo of coffee. Think of a coffee bean you get from.
And at the
Yeah, it's like
at the very start of the
25.
supply chain as well, before it gets shipped around, before it gets mashed or roasted or whatever they do with it before a cafe.
But yeah, the person
their
who
cut.
first decided to try that is more crazy to me than the person who ate a pear. I just think the pear take is strange to me.
Okay, well,
I don't like your take on pear.
I'm sorry for having a shower thought while eating.
Yeah,
a
not
pear.
good. Why were you eating a pear in the shower? Was a good job.
I was playing with myself.
Yeah. Wonder what
was
that tastes
not.
like. Oh, a pear looks like it. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
Oh,
Luke.
shit.
Would not surprise me. Although I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah. Well, you were out as well. You were out having dinner recently, and you were telling me, well,
So a couple of Saturdays ago, went to Victoria Park Golf Course. Went with my roommate and my partner. We played, or we had a box of balls. We hired some clubs there. We're having some fun. Then we went and got some food. Now Victoria Park's got a really nice restaurant there. We're having this really nice entree, and it was like a lunchtime thing. So we're having a bit of food there, having a few drinks, and this lady walked past, and she was wearing a bag. I took no notice of it. My partner goes, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Is something wrong with her?" She's like, "No, that bag." I said, "What about it?" She's like, "That's a Birkin bag." And I said, "Okay,
yeah.
Birkin. That don't ring a bell for me, you know.
So.
No, twerking for the Birkin. I've heard of that.
So this Birkin bag, it is made out of crocodile skin, crocodile leather. I think it's a leather crocodile skin.
Right.
What do you think the cost of it was?
I
The
think-
average,
I think they're upwards of like 80K, aren't they?
they are.
Crocodile skin, 80K.
The bag that she had and the bag that I just had a look there, 441,000 Australian, 370 something US $1,000.
Yeah, but
The most expensive Birkin bag is $2 million, or is in the range of 2 million to 3 million US.
what else is it made of? It can't just be crocodile leather. What are they using? The tears of God as well?
How do
Like,
they
that's-
notice? Like similar to this fucking coffee eating.
What's
bag.
a Birkin? Get me a Birkin bag, Luke. Look,
I'm not going to get you a Birkin bag.
Put it as a business expense. What the hell what are they made of? Are they just plated in diamonds and gold and uranium or some shit? Like what the?
So they
Oh, they look like
So
shit.
that Birkin 35 bag, the 441,000 one was the one she had to the right, the got Maroni colour, that one there.
Holy shit!
And so for me, I can't tell the difference between any of these in terms
That
of
looks like a briefcase.
quality.
What the fuck?
But look at the, I mean, what's for that amount of money? I just wonder, what do you think the people who wear these types of things or bring them out? What do you think they do?
Fuck, you've got to be. That's not even OnlyFans money.
No,
like
that's-
you're past OnlyFans money if you've got to.
I don't think they do anything because no one who earned that much money would be. They've been given their money, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
No one who
Ooh.
earned that money would be spending it on a bag like that. And if you do, I apologize, but Jesus Christ,
But
that much for a. It looks like shit.
you know what?
It doesn't even look good.
If you don't, that's actually smart because instead of asking for money for cash, buy a handbag because your husband ain't going to ask for that handbag back. He
Correct.
has
So-
no use for a handbag.
And
But
another-
if they break up, she's got a big asset.
Correct, and that's what
Taken half.
that's what Matilda said. She said girls look at this thing as an investment. You know, I'm into crypto. I'm into wanting to buy a house for real estate soon. I'm into ETFs and investing in stocks. She said, you know, you've got all that side, but this is for women. They see this as a huge investment, supply and demand. In a few years, this thing could be $2 million.
Wow.
even used, even using it every day. Like,
Yep. Because she was saying because of how rare the material of the crocodile skin is, they're limited edition and they store a lot of value over time. So
There must be because how rare is crocodile skin? A lot of crocodiles.
Well, to be honest, it's a one of one because I'm
18
guessing they're probably not
karat
using
yellow
two
gold.
crocodiles over that, and the one crocodile they did use is now dead. So I guess that maybe makes it more
I
rare.
mean,
The fact
any
that, like,
leather shoe,
this
there's
crocodile-
only one cow for
well,
that
see
shit.
that's not even a brand new bag. Look at the end; they're conditioned very like new.
Wow.
That's not even brand new.
Condition the bottom right, very like new, on a
How big is it? 35
Hermes Birkin 35 bag diamond meal porosis crocodile gold hardware. Estimated price. You reckon we can afterpay that? Let's try it. Google Pay. Let's try it by.
It does look. It does look cool.
Nope. Get out.
coming up through your
There's
bank.
no way that goes through. Otherwise, I'm celebrating.
Yeah.
Immediately, you just
Shit.
like that doesn't make any. Okay, the investment thing. Okay, if they're potentially appreciating our.
Is there any possibility that she earned that money and bought it herself?
If it truly is like an investment thing that has like I don't know, history of these bags going up by a lot, I understand it more. But I don't understand how the value can go up to 2 million. Like, what is it? Just rarity, scarcity of it?
Scarcity.
It's a lot of money,
Is
but
that a
when you think
word?
about it, like a house for 330,000 is really cheap nowadays, particularly here in a city like Brisbane. Maybe they have the house, have the car, have a few.
That's the US
stocks.
price. That's not the Australian price.
Correct.
It's 400.
Well, still, I think if in Brisbane, 400 grand for a house is actually really cheap at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's women's fashion and companies like Lululemon. I think guys don't understand how much those products cost and how good of an investment they are in makeup.
You mean,
Perfume.
what do you mean, like Lululemon?
I think
Because Lululemon's not that expensive.
That's
no.
I don't think it's bougie.
No, it's like yoga sort of
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah.
I think probably the point I'm trying to say is guys got to
fashion.
understand the importance of investing in their girlfriend if they're into these types of things because of how expensive they are.
Matilda must be listening
Yeah,
to
she's
this
not-
show.
Sorry, man, you're not getting that handbag.
No, you will not be getting that unless we can have a breakthrough somehow. But I think it's I think a lot of guys don't understand how expensive it is to be, or how The money that women spend is a lot in terms of simple things like going out, dress, makeup.
Yeah, the makeup and hairdressing, like
Yeah.
that kind of maintenance is like stupid how much it costs.
But also
So
like
simple.
just getting waxed and laser eyebrows.
Yep.
Like
There are cheap options for all of these things, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass
sort
of time.
of, but not really.
Yeah, you do it yourself, but it's like a time commitment. Then, not lazy. Obviously, you're not going to lazy yourself.
I mean, it probably won't be the
Won't be that
removal
far.
of hair laser.
It wouldn't be that far away either. There probably is going to be your own hair removal lasers coming out, but
But it's actually expensive to be a female.
it is. I still don't understand how like you rationalize.
Okay,
that
this
bag.
is different. The 400 bag is different.
Yeah, completely different to what we're saying. But I think, yeah,
Okay, so
Unless you disposable income, if you've got just all the money, that's fine. I understand, but
buying a $400,000 house that can be rented is very different to buying a $400,000 handbag because there's no potential for income.
I mean, you could rent
Good
it
luck.
out.
Good luck.
Very dangerous.
Maybe you could hire it. I don't know.
you could lose it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone.
Oh,
Could you imagine that?
And I wonder what
what's your
the
bag?
capital like appreciation would be on a house versus a handbag. And I know there's so many factors as to the area of the house, the size of the house, and the type of handbag. How many of the but is it? How does it compare? Because if this is what your partner's telling you,
handbags-
buy me this handbag because it'll be the best investment you ever make.
Surely the handbag's like crypto.
Do you listen? Do you listen?
The handbag's either going to go up heaps or it's going to just fucking lose all its value. Like, to me, that's like volatile investing. That's like the risky gambling investing. The house is the steady one that's not going to... Like, I feel like that's a real volatile investment.
That
We would
makes
like,
sense.
babe, we're taking out a mortgage for your handbag. Like, that wouldn't happen. Like,
I guess the fact that you can also spill a glass of red wine on it and probably completely devalue it.
Or it doesn't add value. I don't know. Maybe it's crocodile leather. It adds value and puts a nice little tint on the bag.
Or if you saw it as a volatile investment that is going to appreciate so much over time, would you take it out? I wouldn't.
No, that wouldn't leave the
I'd
house.
have it home in a safe if it's going to be that. You know, that's your investment.
When you were just telling me as well, I was thinking, like, do they need to walk with security?
She wasn't.
Like-
She was walking to the toilet straight across. And it's just a normal, she's probably 30-year-old blonde, like just an attractive looking woman. Just, you know.
Okay, well, that explains a lot.
She was
I've made
attractive.
huge assumptions.
But,
I think you've worked it out. At a golf club.
yeah. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I could not believe that.
I don't think you need security because I don't think enough people know the value of these things.
One person needs to, and be in a desperate enough situation to just.
But then those kind of things, they probably like track who's bought them, who owns it. So if you're trying to sell it and you're not that person, they know they flag it as stolen and boom. Like I'm sure there's so much that goes into that.
From all my movies I watched on heists, they always throw out the jewelry because.
That exactly
And I mean,
is
it's a
it.
fucking movie,
It's legitimate.
but because it's so easily recognizable, like high value pieces like that, there's a record of, and even like the sports card that I've had, you can track who's had this sports card. So I guess in that instance, yeah, unless you know some shady dude who will give you 50% on the down low,
I mean, you get 10% of that, you're laughing. 40k. Oh,
that's a good day. Maybe we should pull off a heist.
I mean, it seems
It's
like you
probably
just talked me out of it by telling me that everything is trackable. You
Yeah.
gave me a terrible sell.
But what would a financial advisor say in that position? Is it a good idea?
I think it depends on what the other assets that they own and what they
That's
do.
true.
A lot of other factors into that.
I wonder how many.
I've
Like,
never encountered a financial advisor, personally.
you've what?
I've never encountered a financial advisor. Like,
You've never encountered.
yeah, like what is the go with that? Like a volatile investment like that, they would, like you said, it would, if you had a lot of safe investments, then they would maybe encourage you going a bit more crazy. Is that typically how that goes? I mean, it makes sense to
I
me.
don't know.
But people say take risks when you're
but-
younger. I don't know.
But how can you be a financial advisor when someone's asking you to buy a 400? Like, is buying a $400,000 a good investment a good idea? Like, I doubt they're in the position to advise on something like that. Like, what position do you need to be a financial advisor? Do you just need to be book smart, or do you need to be able to back it up?
I think you got to have the money as well. I think you got to be in the ballpark of, you know, you have similar assets of similar range. So it's not like you're giving advice on something you have no idea about. I think a lot of factors would go into it. You know, what they currently do is probably the biggest one there, but it's tough.
But it's like you have to show that you understand how money works and where putting your money is smart.
And showing option B, C, and D,
Yeah.
and this is what the return you could get on this investment. This is a return. This is a return. I think the financial advisor can't tell you what to do, and you're not there to, be spoon fed. Go do this investment. Okay, I'll go do it. Like, I think it's more, particularly if you've got that type of money and those type of investments, you're probably not there looking for, okay, do this. You're probably there for like, I actually want to try and suss this person
Management,
out,
maybe.
and see what they would do, how they do, try and marry up what similar investment types, and that I think they're probably more wanting the advice.
Because surely you can apply certain principles to a lot of different kinds of investing that like translate through to different levels of, in terms of it'll cost, this one costs 400,000, this is 4 million, but it'd be similar like underlying principles that work with them.
All right, so you've got someone who only earns
I'm
70k
talking
a
about my
year.
ass here, though, but
You've
go
only
on.
got someone who earns 70k a year,
Yeah.
and you've got 50 million.
Yeah.
Is that guy's word worth listening to? And is the fat doctor's or fat nutritionist words worth listening to?
Well, it's an interesting one because just because someone's not doing something that they
Practicing what they're
not
preaching.
practicing what they're preaching doesn't mean they're not knowledgeable in it. Like you can know everything about nutrition, but still be a degenerate like me. Like you can still like have your addictions and go be like you succumb to them, but knowing all well that this is destroying my body, it makes it harder to agree with it. But then you can probably lose out on some good advice. I'm sure the same things can be applied.
Would you listen to someone who smokes like a degenerate, gambles like a degenerate, and is fat as fuck? Would you listen to them for either business advice or health advice?
I don't know if
Or
they're doing well
financial?
business. If they're doing well financially, sure. But this
Well,
is the thing. I think it needs to be. But I'm trying to work this out because I don't think I'd listen to them. But doesn't mean that I know anything about the topic. You know
What would
I
you be
mean?
saying, Dig?
Because
Oh.
like there could be so many factors why they're not practicing what they preach.
There could be, but I would never take advice from a doctor who smokes or a doctor who has, if they're smoking, okay, but if they haven't tried to fix it, then I wouldn't listen to them. If they know the risks and they're still doing it, I wouldn't listen to them. Same as we spoke about the marriage, a divorced marriage counselor. Like I probably wouldn't take advice from them, or I would try and listen to why their relationship couldn't last. Look, I think you got to push your comfort zone, and you actually got to practice what you preach these days. I think if you don't, then it ruins your reputation and ruins your viability. For me personally, I wouldn't go and listen to that person.
There's a lot of examples of athletes who nearly make it to the top, but don't. They're that second tier. No one knows them, but they've been around the guys at the top. They've seen what they've done, and they're really good coaches. Sometimes better than the top guys. In that instance, can you listen? And how's that different, though?
I feel like each of these situations is different. Like a divorced marriage counselor is different to a doctor that's not looking after themselves nutritionally. Because like in a divorced marriage counselor, there's two people involved. It's not just their own decisions that factor into it.
True.
The financial advice kind of could be like that too. There could be a massive family event that comes up where they have to bail out their brother or some shit. Like there's factors there. The doctor who's overweight and like
It's hard to blame.
that one, it's like, okay, more so I would find it harder to trust what they're saying. But the other ones, like a divorced marriage counselor, I don't think it would bother me if they completely understood what happened and what broke down their relationship. Same with the financial. I could probably forgive the financial thing if their brother, their dad, someone on a gambling addiction, they had to fork him out. Like that could be personal decisions that prevented them from progressing. So I think they're all different, unique situations, which would affect my ability to trust them. So the fat doctor, yeah, that'd be harder for me to take than a financial advisor who had to bail out his brother 3 times or some shit like that. Like, there's levels to it in terms of, or more nuance than just don't agree with anyone who doesn't practice exactly what they preach.
You know what really gives me the shits? Fat PTs.
Yes. I don't go to
they
gyms.
exist.
I don't go to gyms.
I've just switched gyms, and this gym has so many PTs that are fat.
Yeah.
But they get clients, which is what pisses me off more than the fact that they're a fat PT.
Yeah.
That
But
pisses
it's
me
like,
off.
if you're good at motivating other people to do shit, even though you're not doing it, you must be fucking good at your job.
But don't you want the example?
Oh,
don't you
yeah,
want to see the example?
Again, I would too. I would want a fit PT, personally. But for that one, I would be like, you got a personal shortage, you're telling me what to do, I want to see what you're doing.
You want to know that,
With that, 'cause it's a personal.
the advice that you're taking or what you're being told, they can do it, or they the person that's telling you has been in that situation before. So they know when you do that movement, when you're lifting that weight, that they know what you're feeling and what you should be doing and the types of things that you need to be told in that situation to complete the lift or to make sure that you don't pass out in a workout. Or, they're not just telling, all right, you're going to go run 400 kilometers a day. Like, they're not giving you advice that is just, that could be detrimental to your health long term. So, yeah, that annoys me too. Fat PTs, fat doctors.
Would you go to a fat PT, fat doctor?
Not a fat doctor. Fat PT, depending. They could be fat, but they could be, being a power lifter. They could be trying to, they could be benching a lot of weight and,
That's their goal.
Their goal is muscle growth. They're not your nutritionist.
And they could be competing for an event. So in that, it's their decision and there's other factors involved. Sort of what we were saying before, there's, the financial advisor bailing out a brother, for example. But purely doctor who's overweight, probably not.
Do they need to practice what they preach for some period of time as well, though?
It depends, because the sporting example you gave, where there are some coaches, and like football's my greatest reference, like soccer, football. Some of the best coaches, they didn't play at the very top level. They didn't make it to top level, but they are the best man motivators and managers, and they can develop players like no one's business. A couple of them at the top in the English game at the moment. Like, they were never at that top level, but they still understand the fundamentals, they understand the principles, they understand the game, having not been at the top playing it. So, there's different.
Coaching is an interesting one because you're called a good coach or a bad coach based on your wins and losses. Now, there's a lot of things that go into wins and losses. Do you have the players that are actually good enough to win? Like, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. If you have B-grade soccer players going up against Real Madrid, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter how good the coach is, how well your general manager and your recruiting staff is getting new players in. I think as a coach, I'm not coaching anymore, but was a coach for almost 7 years and played tennis at an okay level. I think it's more about the knowledge and the experience of a coach, but they don't necessarily have to do it. You look at NRL at the moment, a lot of the coaches are ex-players and they've got a good reputation because they were in the game for so long. They get it. They know exactly what those players go through, what they got to do. They tell them what they've got to do, but are they necessarily the best guys to be in that job when you have second tier guys, third tier guys who have been around the game just as long, but are actually better motivators, communicators, better micromanagers, I don't know.
Potentially even understand the game better from like a tactical perspective.
Correct.
Because they're somewhat removed from it.
Not even they just put more time outside of just playing. They've just studied the game more than anyone else.
That's a good point. Because people might think, okay, he's played in the league for 10 years. That's 10 years of experience. When no, it's not. Because if he was a fullback and then playing wing or halfback, I don't know, some switching position, the experience doesn't always correlate in the same way that it may not to be in the same way of going from coach to player. Complete other way around.
Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then being the most talented player coming up too, you might not need to understand the tactics as much as everyone else because you can get away with it because you don't have to be as head smart. Like, there's a lot of the sport one's an interesting one because there's so many successful examples of ex-players who've been at the top level and ones who haven't even touched the top level but are really good. And some of the best in the world at the moment.
Which I think was funny because a conversation that's coming out Thursday night with Lucas Big Daddy Brown, he's a boxer, he was telling us, and this will be obviously 2 days' time till you can listen to it, we were chatting to him and he was telling us about how in high school, he was that guy, states for baseball, basketball, soccer. There was, I think there was a couple, he was that guy that just had everything physically. Like, he was that fucking guy. He just had it. And then he ended up picking MMA and then played NRL, under 18 Parramatta Eels, and then picked MMA and then boxing, and did very well in boxing, one of Australia's best ever. But it never seemed like he was that passionate. He just had it.
In terms of spreading yourself over the 8 sports.
Like I don't think it mattered whether he chose a different sport. Yeah. He probably would have been somewhere close to the top. I just got that vibe.
Dedicated to one of them, he would have, got to the level where he could make a living out of it. You would think,
AB de Villiers is another one. He, cricket player, played for South Africa in schoolboy rugby in South Africa. He played fly half in front of whoever their fly half for the last 10 years has been. He played in front of him at school. That the guy who was I should know the name. The South African captain. Played in front of him. Won the South African golf, tennis under 18 champion. Similar to Kalen Ponga, actually, super talented guy as well. Golf, rugby league, but yeah, these guys just have it.
That guy.
Yeah, they're that guy. They're that guy. You know, they're the age champion at school athletics. They're just the cream of the crop in different sports. You just wonder whether maybe that's their detriment. They're just so good at different things. They never nailed one thing. Like I couldn't see Michael Phelps being good at any land sport, being good at baseball, cricket, soccer, football. True. I just think he's so specialized, but he was so successful because he was so specialized in that one sport. Whereas maybe these other guys, were too good at everything that they weren't the best at one thing.
It pulled at other opportunities, so they could never focus on one thing maybe. And that was because we had Zach Stubblety on the show, obviously, who won the Olympic gold for 200 breaststroke. And I was chatting to Harrison yesterday about him. And he was just saying, like, he was that guy in school that you just knew was going to be an Olympic champion because he was almost weird in how dedicated and ambitious he was during school lunch. He was on the erg. This is what Harrison was saying. Like,
what's the erg?
Rower.
Okay.
That's just different mentality.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just that guy. But that episode comes out on Thursday night, 2 days time. Don't forget to check it out because it's fucking unreal. Thanks guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell notification. Factually, the number 5 podcast in the world.
Unreal. Going for number 1.
Let's go.
So we're running with Ciao.
Thanks guys.
Ciao.